Welcome to Wizard Team, a Black Magical podcast for Black Magical stories.
Hi everyone, it's Bayana, Robyn, and Porshèa embarking on a journey through the many fantasy stories written by and about Black people. Currently, we're reading Amari and the Night Brothers by B.B. Alston, and today we're discussing Chapter 29.
What happened before we got to define Chapter 29? Well, you may remember that this time for the culminating event that we've been waiting for since we found out that Amari had to try out in order to be able to get that much closer, so figuring out where her brother is. That's right, it's the junior agent tryouts. Did we get a lot of page time given to this? No, because you know what the Sky's Prince looks like. We know that Amari's been in the library in those books trying to figure out all the information she can about this magical world. So for the most part, we get a couple of chapters telling us that Amari took standardized tests written on actual paper, not on the computer or in some cool VR fashion, literal paper test. And then she teamed up with Dylan to do the Van Helsing maneuvers, their Sky Sprint tryouts, and they took down two of their opposing teams who were going out for the tryout. But then, as promised, Dylan comes through and allows Amari to take his time that he was supposed to have for his demonstration, his supernatural ability demonstration, and instead calls Amari to the stage. Of course, this immediately comes with pushback from his villain, awful father, who is like, "You gotta
Reclaiming my time."
He's like, "Young lady, you don't belong here. You are like," he literally is like somewhere between really crappy middle-aged heckler at a comedy show and like Kovu, you are not one of us.
You and I.
But like without or the like octaves or the range, but that's the vibe he's trying to give Amari as she just does her presentation. And she uses that time to show us all why magicians and illusionists in particular that contribute so much to just making life a little bit more joyous, a little bit more wondrous, and why they really have been missing out by literally pushing out a whole class of people because of some stories they've had about bad people in that range. But there's just a lot going on there. And Amari does her best to like showcase why they should not be pursuing her in that way, at least. But before she can actually revel in at least seeming to turn some of the crowd, before she can revel in the fact that like she was able to do the thing that she's been wanting to do, show how good she is at being a magician and how she's kind of like has owned her own ability in it. She goes backstage and there's two agents waiting in the wings by Van Helsing's orders, and before they can even arrest her or, you know, just like detain her, there screams in the crowd, in the audience, and Amari's confused, the agents are confused, they pop out, and what do they see but some hybrid giant bats taking over the whole, I guess, like auditorium. Everyone's in array, everyone's running, and that's where we leave off on Amari.
As you were talking about Amari and like doing the paper test and stuff, I was thinking about, if we remember when Amari comes back home and Jaden gives her that pep talk and is like, I guess it is difficult to believe that you are that girl when Quentin is also your brother. And she's like, oh yeah, Quentin is a super genius, so I shouldn't be comparing myself to him. Do you know how difficult it is to like be like, oh, I read these books once and I aced that class. Like I studied, I crammed, and then I aced it. Like she felt like I got all them right. I'm good. And that is like you have to like it's a reminder of how smart she is. Like she got a scholarship to Jefferson. She is Quentin's little sister, but like she is no slouch in her own right. Yeah. And I know that we know that in terms of her like, you know, like determinedness and like determinedness. Is that right? Is that a word?
Determination.
Thank you. And in like her perseverance and all of these things that we've seen, but like that was like, I don't know why when you like mentioned that in the recap, Porshèa, I was like, oh no, and she's like book smart, like she's street smart, she's like, you know, smart, like all of these things, and she's like a bean and empathetic and kind and wants to be a really good person, but like she's also just like really like book smart.
Yeah,
it's not easy to just, all of these people got tutors and they get in their handheld, and she spent some time in the library and was like,
She was like, I got most of these answers right, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Might have missed like that one. It was a trick question. Might have missed it, but everything else.
But she felt confident. Like,
yeah.
That's just impressive.
For sure.
The thing about being that smart, though, is that because I have this all the time. If I can do it, then I just assume anyone can do it because I don't feel like it's like that big of a deal.
Yeah.
And then I find out like, no, this is something that like your ability to focus and do all this stuff is like not something that everyone has. So that is not the thing. So you kind of like take it for granted. You take your own self for granted. So I can see how she could easily just be like, oh, I'm just like, one, she's also in the moment. She's probably freaking out the most about trying not to get kicked off stage. So it's probably not in her brain that's the thing she should worry about the most right now either.
Yeah, and I don't think that like she even sees it as impressive, and like because it's not, it's like a, like you said, it's like a 2-sentence, you know, here are the facts, and I just, in that like recap, I was like, oh yeah, but that is still impressive, whether she recognizes it or not. I recognized it, and I just wanted to say that. So yeah, Amari was my MVP last chapter, and I stand by it.
Yep. All right. So there are piercing screeches as the giant bats descend from the rafters with their fangs bared. Dozens of agents scale the walls to meet them head on. And like, shout out to them for being ready. You know, they're like, yeah, we're going to watch this show, but I got my sky sprints on. Got my stun stick in the holster. We're not
Keep
that
thing on me.
I know we're in the like quote unquote safest place in the unknown world, but we're not just gonna be left hanging. So Agent Magnus calls to Amari. He's standing at the edge of the stage, waving her towards him. When she gets over to him, he throws an arm around her shoulder, and leads her off the stage, up the aisle toward the exit where Director Van Helsing and a few agents are helping people out of the auditorium. So I really appreciate, and like we've seen how Magnus and Fiona specifically like show up for her and just for the kids in general, but like him like seeing her being like, I need to get you to safety like immediately. And just again being glad that there are people there that recognize that she needs protection, and not just like because of what she can do for them or like, you know, whatever. Like it's very much just like, nah, this is this kid. And like maybe Magnus has a little bit more connection because of his like relationship with Quentin, but I just appreciate when he's actually like looking out for her.
And I mean, not Professor, Director Horace, was it?
Yeah,
like was like saying like, you could be like, we don't know how much danger you're in, but you're in danger. Like these people are like, this is like revolving kind of around you. And I feel like a lot, Director Van Helsing, for example, I'm just gonna say, I'm gonna put this on him, like continues to forget that she is not, like you said, not protected, but she's also kind of a target. She is not safe, and Magnus doesn't forget that. Like, yes, we want to get all of these kids to safety, but like Amari is in a special kind of danger, and I'm going to make sure that she's good. And so shout out to Magnus.
Yeah.
Hold up, let me.
You saying that made me think about, I wonder if Amari is anywhere on a priority list for the department, knowing that she's a magician and all the things attached to her happen. I'm wondering if Fiona or Magnus has like a level of like, they're supposed to be watching out for her, like as an assignment, because of her priority level for like being watched over.
I feel like she should be, but is she? Because of who she is, you know what I mean?
Because of who she is and because like of who runs that department, like who their bosses are. Yeah. It feels much more like they're taking it on themselves versus it being something that's like
they recognize that if Amari wasn't a magician, but they had that threat, then this would be like protocol. But because she's a magician and their boss is a bigot, it's not there, and they still are going to be like, but we do what's right. So yeah.
So they're almost at the exit when there's an enormous crash. Something massive bursts through the wall. It's a rhino hybrid, which, fun. Love this for everybody involved. Magnus puts himself between it and Amari and says, when I say go, you hightail it out of here and don't look back. Got it? The rhino...
So this is, again, why that's not the department for me, dog. It's a no for me, dog.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
No. The rhino growls, massive muscles bulging, then it lowers its snout and charges. Magnus shoves Amari towards the exit, and she whips her head around in time to see Magnus and the beast tumble down the aisle. So Amari's trying to like convince herself like Magnus will be fine. He's one of the best here. Like, I got to make it to the exit. But then she glances through the hole the rhino made and realizes that there are dozens more hybrids. There's bears, panthers, gorillas, like just pouring through this hole. And the agents are amazing, but the monsters are more than twice their size. Every time one falls, there's another one that's popping up out of thin air, take its place. And then on top of that, like, there are a bunch of agents who are trying to handle evacuation. So like they have split duties, I guess, and aren't really able to like focus on just the attack itself. So then of course Amari, being who she is, grabs her stun stick and is like, shouldn't I try to help? What would Quentin do? Like, Quentin would tell you, my dear,
to
who
move,
are not even a junior agent yet, to get to safety. Like, that's what Quentin would do. He would be like, get out, like Magnus said.
This is definitely one of those moments, like, when you go on a plane and they say, like, you need to secure your face mask on yourself before you help anyone. This is, like, one of those things where it's, like, kids don't really understand, like, the reason why they... like,
Cortex. It's not...
The reason why they are trying to get you out of here isn't just because they want to get you to safety, which is also, it's true, right? Mm-hmm. That is very much true. But it's also so they can focus. Because imagine... the split focus of Amari over here trying to save me, and she don't know what she doing. Like, she just got here.
Mm-hmm. I love that it's also showcasing how important Quentin's elder sibling scale is for Amari as well, because like she's using him as her moral compass. Like, whatever Quentin would do is what is morally what she would align with doing, and she wants to do what he would do. And it's reminding me of like, not whatever. My sister, I didn't have anyone that I was like that to, where I could be like, oh, if like this person did it, then whatever. But my sister, when I left for college, she told me she was hanging out with people that I knew when I was working my first job or whatever back home, and they told her that I did stuff that I didn't do. Ooh. And she was like, well, they said that you did it. And I was like, you were talking to the wrong people. You should have been talking to this person. We were actually close. They were just in the same circle. And I'm like, I wonder, like, did she, like, think that, like, to go through with it? Because, like, she's like, well, if she did it, then maybe it's okay if I do. And it's like, I didn't do it. Like, there led you astray. So, it's like, you have to be careful about making people your moral compass, in so many different ways, because it really can, like, if people can use that against you as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's absolutely. Also, like, Magnus had told her at the beginning of the book, too, like, and I think Dylan, I don't know who said it, like, but would they really appreciate you putting yourself in, like, the things that they did for you to then just put yourself in danger in that kind of way? Like, part of it is, yes, you do need to know when it's time to, like, step up and, like, what your moral compass is and, like, where you're going to stand up. But, like, you also need to know your limitations. Like, this is, like, the blind, like, rushing in without thinking through things. Is like, if we're at a gunfight, and my brother is this top-notch sharpshooter and he would run towards the gunfight, should I do that? I don't know how to shoot. I ain't never had.
I'm just learning. I'm just a trainee.
I'm just learning. I'm a trainee.
I can do non-moving targets.
Right. Is that actually the right thing, right? Like, I just got the Van Helsing feint or whatever they called it, like maneuver. And I've only been doing that in like the gym like for a week, you know, like it's like, I think it is a show of bravery, and I do appreciate, like you said, like the frontal cortex is not cortexing, but thinking it from it, like this is like the hilarious thing about reading all these middle grades and YAs is like now I'm at the big age where I'm reading it from the perspective of an adult, and I'm like, this is actually not helpful. Like, you do need to just go be safe.
Sometimes you just gotta be safe. And like, I appreciate how
you can be the man in the chair.
Happens. Right. And I also appreciate how this moment plays out. So like, she grabs the stun stick, she steps into the chaos, she's panicking because she's like, there's agents and monsters, everything's blurring around, she's overwhelmed, she doesn't know where to go, where she's needed, she's in over her head. Like, so it's not like, and you know, there are moments, it's not to say that like Amari has definitely run off and done something, you know what I mean? And you know, like, and also in other books and stuff, there are characters that run off, they handle the thing, whatever. But I do like this moment of like her trying to help and then realizing like there's no way I can actually, being overwhelmed, like actually, like I'm tripping. And then Magnus snatches her back. So that's the other thing is like he was like, go. Is still keeping an eye on her, realizes she has not yet left.
Has not gone.
Over here with her hand on the damn stick. And I know he's just like this child. And so he grabs her and is like, what's the matter with you? Like pulling her away. This ain't a fight for a kid. Get over to Van Helsing, make for the lobby, go. So like, I appreciate that he didn't just leave and like, you know, trust her to like follow orders, I guess, but also just like, not that he didn't trust her, but just like is fighting. But again, it's a split focus. Like he's still looking out for her and having to do that, and that's taking away from like the battle that he's trying to fight.
It makes it more dangerous for him.
It's like it's a lot of different things happening, but I did appreciate that it's not like she just came out and like did Mary some like like some crazy like wild thing. And again, not that she won't ever do that in other situations, but showing that like she does have some limitation.
But I feel like the thing too is like, for a couple of things. One is that I think it was fun that in the description of him, like he had his super scaled skin or whatever. So like that was his thing. So you can see in the moment that like you are not prepared the way that this agent is prepared to like be defensive against people. Like you don't even have the reflexes to have like your skin off and on. Like you don't have that. Like you have not built that muscle memory yet. That's what training is. Training is to get yourself to the level where things become muscle memory. It's like,
and it's also the like tactical thing too. Like you have to. Yeah. It's not just like you've just learned like how to use these things, not like then again like how to actually
in combat.
Yeah.
As you're saying this, it's one thing I really appreciate about this book as a whole is that like B.B. Alston, maybe he's my MVP. Can we MVP the? I know it's the character, but can we MVP the author? He's my co-MVP. But like, there are numerous moments in this book and throughout this book where we are like, oh, what? No, like even in the trials, they're not trying to kill them. They're trying to actually teach them. They're not trying to put them in real danger. And there are certain things that they do that is like, from a bureaucracy standpoint or a cultural standpoint, it's like wrong and the ethics are not there, but it's not.
Like they take seriously that they have these kids in their like.
Yeah. And there's not like this, like, you know, oh, but if you believe and try hard enough, things will work out too. Because like the kids reading this book also need to hear this is not a fight for a kid. I told you to go. Like they need to hear that so that in real life they're not like, well, if Amari can find it in their strength, it's like, nah. Sometimes you gotta run.
This is not the sword in the stone. We're not expecting you to pull out Excalibur and then come straight into battle.
Not everyone is the chosen one. Not all, like even if you are the chosen one, sometimes as the chosen one, you were chosen to go.
Right, you were chosen to go.
You're chosen to flee. And so I just like really like that in terms of like from a writing standpoint of like this sometimes is like
you don't got it.
Sometimes you don't got it, and like sometimes you are a kid, be a kid, and like, or you are learning, be learning. And so, yeah, I appreciate it.
I do. Okay, so I also do love this. Like, I think this is my last bit of Magnus standing for this chapter. I think this gives me like Avengers, like I'm always angry vibes. I can like see it in my head like a movie. So Amari listens finally. Magnus follows her just long enough to make sure she doesn't get any more ideas. Then he balls his fists, and his skin hardens into metal. He flicks his wrist, and his stun stick becomes a giant axe. Flames erupt along the blades, and he leaps through the hole in the wall back into battle. I'm just like, let's go.
Also,
I love that stun sticks have like customization.
You know what that gives me?
It turns into
you know what that gives me? You know what that gives me?
Shotgun
X!
Because that's what I wrote
Shotgun
down.
X!
I wrote that down literally. I was like, it's a stun axe. It's just like Mac. I love it.
I am now seeing Magnus as Mac in my head, and it's better. It's better.
It's way better. We might have to shift my whole.
When they make this into a movie, I know who you need to cast.
Get Henry Simmons. Get him on the phone. You just see him with his little like hat and then like the little wooden.
Also,
office.
because he does like I don't want to be here so well. I just want to take a nap.
It's such a good casting. I'm actually like freaking out about it.
I understand that I'm a hero or whatever, but like, why?
Why are we doing this? He has the like physique for it. Like, he's like all of it.
Fucking hybrid. Shotgun stunner.
He was like, I was already stressed about trying to make sure Amari was going to get through this round of tryouts, and here y'all come. Like, I wasn't already stressed enough.
Yeah. No, I love that. I love that so much. So Amari gets
we can't be together in a discussion without Shield coming up at some point.
No,
like, I've never not had a discussion where we did not talk about Shield.
I don't think it's going to happen. We just need to like have a fandom function Shield
about
edition
Shield?
with the three of us.
Wait, let's actually do that. I'm writing it down.
Amari.
Let's conclude.
We'll save the rest for the fandom chat.
For the fandom function. Become a BNC baddie, and sooner rather than later, we are going to have a full on. Well, I guess if you're listening to this, likely you're already a BNC baddie. Now that I think about
it might be the tangent.
It'll probably get cut. So if you're
no. Do this BNC baddie part. I will figure out a way to put this in the main show.
Okay, cool. If you want to listen to us nerd out about Shield and other Marvel related things, but mostly through the lens of Shield, you should become a BNC baddie on Patreon, patreon.com/blacknerdscreate, and then you can join our Discord, and then we'll talk with you about it. We don't know when yet. So
whenever.
When you become a baddie, then you will get the notification when we decide to do it. Boom. All right.
Boom.
Okay, so Amari reaches Director Van Helsing just as he sends off the last group. The director's eyes dart back and forth between the battle with the hybrids and the fight going on the hallway. He frowns when he notices Amari, but it doesn't last long. He says, hurry and catch up with the others. So, not to give him anything, but he's doing the bare minimum of making sure she gets to safety and not blaming her.
His job.
Yeah.
He's doing the bare minimum for his job.
But
he's
like
monitoring the situation, and then he's telling her to go to safety.
Yeah, he's not jumping to conclusions and blaming her for it. So, but that's it. He gets nothing from that. It's so Amari ducks to the doorway.
Nothing.
You get nothing. It's like
I said good day, sir.
So the agents have stopped the last group from making a run for the elevators because a group of scary-looking gorilla hybrids are close to breaking through the line of agents who are protecting the escape route. Elsie pops up. She's in a researcher coat with in the group, and basically she tried to wait for Amari, but Director Van Helsing made her leave. Which, best friends. She's like, I need my friend. I need to make sure.
The way that I would yell at y'all, though.
Oh yeah, I'd be like, listen, what are you doing here? You had your own tryout. Like, why are you even on this floor?
Like, in general, too, like, if I found out that you risked your life to wait for me, not save me, just to wait. If you don't meet me at the freaking excavation. Both of y'all. I'm yelling at Bayana and Porshèa right now. I'm yelling at you. If we are in a building and you have to evacuate, you better meet me at the evacuation point. You better not be looking for me. Especially Bayana. You know you got leg issue. You better go. God damn it! I'll make my way there.
This is me making.
You better go, Porshèa. Go.
This is making me think that's like a flame we need to utilize anytime like I'm going out with any friends or anybody anywhere. Like, okay, if we have a point, this is where we're gonna meet up. Every time we're gonna meet up here. This is it. This is where we meet. Okay, all right, we're all gonna meet here. This tree is our meeting tree. Okay, cool.
I haven't been survivor's guilt because you were waiting for me at the one place when your ass should have been at the. Nah, man, no.
I have been in a hotel when there was a fire alarm and it was like you can't get into elevators and we were like in a high floor, so there's just all these people trying to go down all these floors on the stairwell, and it is a lot.
Yeah,
and yeah, it's so the chaos in this moment, but I just really love that Elsie, she had her own tryouts and she made her way to be in the last group. So she really was doing her best to be the last one there to see Amari. And I love that she made her way to do that. Like that's a real friend right there.
Yeah.
Again, she could have been smart about it.
Even if it's misguided. But again, the cortex.
She knew better.
The frontal cortex.
She knew better.
The frontal cortex ain't cortexing.
So
she's supposed to be a genius.
Elsie shrieks as a gorilla hybrid gets frighteningly near. I don't know how many times I've read that word out loud. Anyway, it's beaten back by an agent with a laser whip, which sounds cool. Elsie asks if they'll be okay. Amari says definitely, but as soon as the word leaves her mouth, a sea of beige appears over Elsie's shoulder. And it's a wave of wilderness rangers from creature control charging out of the lobby, each with a flaming bird perched on their arm. So they're in their phoenixes. In one synchronized motion, the wilderness rangers point out targets and the birds take off, colliding against the hybrids and exploding on impact. As soon as the fiery ashes hit the floor, the birds reform and strike again. And then the agents
literally Avengers assemble. On your left.
No, for real. I love this. I also really like that. I really like that, like, in this kind of situation, obviously they're the only ones that we see who, like, come to the, like, come to help or whatever, or come as backup. But the fact that, like, all of these departments, I assume, will have, like, practical applications for this kind of situation. You know what I mean? They're not in defense. They can't, like, not defend themselves. They're not waiting on the agents to come get them. They're like, no, we can go provide backup or whatever. Yeah. So like I thought that was a dope little thing. Also, these phoenixes are badass. Like
I like this.
I like the best way to use a phoenix. Like I feel
probably
like
not, but it's a you know, they're in a bind.
I like in this world, I guess, or I don't know if this is true, but I didn't know that phoenixes could just like burst into flames on command. I thought that
maybe
was
it's like in this world.
No, that's what I'm saying. I like that in this world, and I like my only real like, or not my only, but like the one that I go straight to is Fox. So I'm like, because they all did.
To be fair, we've also read and watched that so many times.
That's right. Yeah, it's like
in your brain as the
definitive, Phoenix. And that's what I was saying. Like, I like that it's like something like. The book I'm reading right now, the trilogy I'm reading right now, she's a house cat.
The name of the series is called She Was a House Cat?
No, it's called, it's like a part of this, like, there's like a couple of trilogies in this one, like, area, the Magiford series, but this is called, like, I don't know what the name of the trilogy is right off the top of my head, but it's the King's Captive, the King's Shadow, and then the King's Queen. And she is... in the like basically she's a shifter, but she shifts into a house cat. So she's like, I am the most useless supernatural. I'm basically a human, but I have this like weird ability. And then she gets kind of she gets adopted. She gets rescued by this like elf king. And then she's like too scared to be like, sorry, sir, I'm actually a shifter. I'm a human. Because like he's in kind of like hiding, or like she doesn't think that he would want her to know about him. But so she's like, okay, well, I'm just going to stay a cat and try to escape. Cats run away all the time. So she's like trying to get whatever. Anyway, the point is that there's fae. It's a paranormal urban fantasy series. But like I was reading this and I was like, these elves are so different than any elves that I've read about. But then also I was like, this is probably like the Lord of the Rings level elves, because these elves are like the most powerful creatures. And I've never heard of elves being the top of the supernatural food chain, but it was cool because I was like, I read so much, like I just was on I want to read Mercy Thompson, but I shouldn't read Mercy Thompson again kind of thing, that I found this series, and I like the idea of like, oh, this is a whole new take on a shifter, and this is a whole new take on like, you know, elves and stuff like that. And so point of that is that I do think Fox is like my go-to. This is what the Phoenix mythology is. And so it's nice sometimes to like read something that you love and like, you know, you're going to read again and like really, and it be a different thing. Cause it just reminds you that like these creatures and these myths like show up in stories everywhere, but there are differences and it depends on who's writing the story. In celebration of 8 years of B&C, we've launched our Baddie Road Trip Patreon campaign. Help us reach our goal of $1,000 a month in Patreon support by becoming a patron at any tier, and stay tuned for fun content, community events, and more all summer long. Head over to www.patreon.com/blacknerdscreate.
At New Balance, we believe if you run, you're a runner. However you choose to do it. Because when you're not worried about doing things the right way, you're free to discover your way. Come and be a winner. And that's what running's all about. Run your way at newbalance.com/running.
So the agents use the Wilderness Ranger attacks to take advantage or get the advantage in the battle. One agent yells for the kids to get to the lobby. None of them need to be told a second time. A wave of release surges through Amari as they start down the hall to the bottom of the U, away from the danger. She turns to get one last look at the fighting and freezes. There's a masked figure in black sprinting across the ceiling straight toward the hybrids. None of the beasts attack. If anything, they're clearing a path. So this is clearly Moreau's apprentice. Bum, bum, bum.
Bum, bum, bum.
The figure is down the hallway in seconds, headed to the hallway leading to the Great Vault. No one seems to notice except Dylan, who turns and gives chase. Amari now is like... Well, Amari's realizing that Dylan, or is thinking that Dylan is... trying to not only take the chance to stop it, but to prove that Maria is not the traitor. So, you know, doing the kid thing we've seen twice now, where they're just running into into danger, thinking they can do something. This is now we're 3 for 3. Elsie is like, what are you waiting for? But Amari is realizing that they're not just being attacked, they're being robbed. A junior agent shouts, you two by the door, either come on or we're leaving you behind. This person is not
like,
with
how
the
is that?
They're not getting with the program
as an
because,
agent.
but the thing is that
like,
it can't be, because we've already seen all of these like situations where agents who are higher ranking than this junior agent. I'm assuming the junior agent is a kid, because we've seen Magnus, we've even seen Van Helsing, like like even the director Van Helsing, like bigot asshole extraordinaire, is like with the program of getting everyone to safety. So like this junior agent, like, we're leaving you behind. Somebody needs to report them. I don't know.
Maybe that's
they
like
need to start off with their training. They need to restart their training.
Yeah,
because like no.
Maybe he thinks he's like scaring them straight or something. Like he's not actually going. Yeah, he's not actually gonna do it. You know, and your parents are like, don't make me pull this car over and leave you. Like, right. Yeah, you're not really gonna leave me. But maybe he's like, they don't know me. They don't know that this is a idle threat. But like, also
maybe that's the kindest way to think of it, because this I'm like the messaging here. You're not following. He hasn't been in a safety meeting yet.
You're not persuading anybody.
He has not been in a safety. He doesn't know any protocols. He knows zero protocols. So
that is not persuasive at all. Like,
no,
come or get left. Like, if I'm planning
like, don't make me have to carry you.
Right.
Like, but if like, what if they were planning to stay? Then like, how is you telling them that they're gonna get left gonna be like, oh well, I was gonna stay anyway, so if I can get left, I guess I can stay. Like, how does that?
Yeah.
It's not computing.
It's not clicking.
No.
So Amari tells Elsie to go on without her. Elsie's like, don't do it, you'll get yourself hurt. But Amari's afraid for Dylan. You know, they're partners and whatever. Excuse me. One of the agents shouts, hold the position, the hybrids aren't retreating. But they're not retreating. They've backed up to form a wall in front of the Great Vault. Amari's like, well, Amari realizes she still has her sky sprints. So she dashes up the nearest wall, keeping close to the ceiling, away from the fighting below. She has to get to the vault before it's too late. The old wooden door protecting the vault is wide open, which is not really clear how that happened because it's supposed to be impenetrable. Amari drops to the floor, runs inside. The vault is a wide, dark space with little spotlights shining down on long rows of pedestals, similar to the ones that were in the first tryout. She looks around for Dylan, but doesn't see anyone until Dylan steps into a spotlight of a pedestal. He says, Amari, there's someone else in here. She asks how they got past the door, but Dylan says it was open when he got there. They're just kind of looking around for the intruder. A voice whispers in Amari's ear, looking for me. She spins around to find a girl dressed in all black, backing away from her, and she fades into the shadows. Amari tells Dylan that she saw the thief. Dylan, so they're like trying to figure out what's happening. It's giving like, they're in the dark. She's like, over here, like trying to, the thief snaps her fingers and all the spotlights shut off at once. She's a technologist, says Dylan. That must be how she got in. Which, dang, your great vault, the best that like magic can buy, can't get past a technologist. Like, y'all really need some magicians on your payroll. Like, come on.
Mm-hmm.
Again, not doing what you need to be doing. Blocking your blessings.
Wasted by your own petard.
Mm-hmm. Are you two trainees going to arrest me? The girl teases. Dylan gasped. Amari, he stutters. I know that voice. Shouts pull her eyes to the door. A bunch of overhead lights click on and a crowd of agents rush in the direction. Van Helsing asks what they're doing in there, and Amari explains that there's a girl in black. Dylan says, Dad, but he gets cut off. So he's like about to tell his dad something. He gets cut off by someone else who's shouting above us. The girl in black races along the ceiling. The agents fire blast after blast, but none of them comes close. When she reaches the hallway, she drops to the floor and pulls off her mask. Maria Van Helsing smirks and gives them a bow. Then she taps at her transporter armband and vanishes. Bum, bum, bum. So Amari realizes that Quentin was betrayed by his own partner. And so Amari is like, feeling bad about that, and then realizes then thinks about the Black Book, which is the whole reason that, the Magician's Apprentice would be breaking into the Great Vault in the first place. But so she asks the director, but he's frozen in place, because he's over here shocked about Maria being a magician. And Fiona,
not her being a thief, mind you, her
right.
being a magician.
Well, I think it's both. I think it's the magician and being the actual apprentice, because all of this information is coming to him at the same time. A few other agents dash further into the vault. Fiona stops suddenly, throwing her hand over her mouth. A pedestal sits empty. So the Black Book
now,
is
gone. Bum, bum, bum.
Bum, bum, bum. It's rough out here.
Yeah.
All right. MVP. My MVP is Magnus, if y'all were, I don't know if that's shocking information at this point, but it's great.
I wasn't sure. I didn't really have an MVP. And then we were talking, and it's Magnus as well. For basically all the reasons that you made him MVP, because you convinced me mid-recording to change my vote.
I think as soon as y'all said that he was Mac, I was like, oh, they did it. That's gonna be. For me, I'm gonna say it's Elsie. She made probably the worst decision she's made so far, but it was like within her, like being a friend and being worried about Amari and knowing how little the adults worrying about Amari. So she's like, her feelings are very well warranted. Like, if director Van Helsing was on that stuff and Magnus had been like too preoccupied, like who would have been the person that would have made sure Amari got safe? It would have been Elsie. So I'm not going to take the point from her too much from that. I think it's well within her character, and I appreciate her for that.
I mean, I guess.
I love Elsie. So
I agree, but also
don't even have. I get it. The danger.
I agree, but I'm also like my hesitation for the potential survivor's guilt that could befall Amari if something had happened to Elsie because she was trying to help her. But the frontal cortex does not always be frontal cortexing, so you were also correct. Both that.
All right, benched.
I'm benching the apprentice. Okay. I think, like, I do in the way that, like, we talk about, like, heist movies and stuff like that. I do really like the idea of, like, having this huge distraction to hide, like, oh, we think we're being attacked, but actually we're being robbed. Like, I love that part. So, like, shout out to the apprentice for, like, a pretty cool plan. But yeah, the whole thing just is, props for being evil in a cool way, but you're still evil, so you're bitch.
Yeah, that's real. Agreed. I think it was a flash. Again, magicians are really like the department, the bureau in general is just leaving, like, there's so much potential.
A whole magician unit of investigators would be so dope.
Mm-hmm.
They need to step their game up because look at what they can do.
Yeah.
I benched the Department of Supernatural Investigations, and I had a really strong reason. I'm trying to dial it back. Let me see my notes. I think this overarching one was that the main overarching one for me is that I'm probably really am benching the apprentice, but because we don't know who that is yet, I can't really go in on why I'm so pissed off at the apprentice right now. So I will later. But here's my thing. The Supernatural Investigations Department is doing their best. Like, this is their best. Y'all don't have any early detection. Y'all have not been, like, figuring out, like, at least, like, having alerts that can get y'all, like, preventative measures, like some kind of shielding, something. Y'all, this is your best. This is your best. I can't deal with this being their best. And especially them, like, being ready to, like, goon squad on a 12-year-old on Amari in a backstage and try to take her out. Somehow knowing that this is their best makes all the behavior, like all of the different agents in Van Helsing's behavior in this chapter that much worse. And I really can't, I think this shows why in so many ways that, like, Van Helsing should not be the director, and how inept he's made this department, because it's like people who can run off on command and they know their missions and how to, like, step in are doing well, but that's on, like, the power of them knowing how to do their jobs. But it's not necessarily on the unit being prepared for like what happens if the Bureau is attacked. Like why doesn't the Bureau have better defensive measures in place? What is going on? Like, I don't know. For me, in a big place with all these big supernatural creatures, I just don't understand why they're so underprepared and underprotected. And so I see that as a failing of the department, and as Van Helsing's reign as director overall.
So what happens when you're a department of nepotism run amok?
Yeah.
Like I said, you don't get the best. You get the most connected. All right. Well, thank you for listening. We'll be back next week for chapter 30.
Wizard Team was brought to you by Black Nerds Create. If you want to keep up with our other content, you can check out our website at blacknerdscreate.com. Follow us on Twitter at BLKNerdsCreate, at Yana Wrote It, at Robyn_Rambles, and at Porshèa. Follow us on Instagram and Tumblr at Black Nerds Create, and subscribe to our monthly magic newsletter. And don't forget to rate and review. Bye, y'all.
Bye.